Hi, this is Eddie Hearn and you're watching Lights Out.
This is Faisal Khan for Lights Out, proudly sponsored by Spartans Law. We are here in sunny London for today's press conference as we continue fight week. Anthony Joshua, Daniel Dubois this Saturday night. World heavyweight title in front of 96,000 fans at the famous Wembley Stadium. Delighted to be joined.
Can you not get on camera here? Keep going. At least get on camera. Let me see you here. Come on, keep going.
Is that okay?
Yeah, now that's better.
I don't really like getting into the camera,
well,
but
there you go. You can go back. I just feel weird standing here while you're interviewing.
Well, I hope you don't feel weird anymore. But no. Todd, first of all, flew in today. How was your flight over here?
It was great. Like you said, I brought the sunshine with me. I flew in from Boston nonstop to Heathrow, and I've got to give Heathrow some credit. I've had nightmare experiences, but today, right through security, right through customs, my bag was waiting. It was a thing of beauty, and it matches the beautiful day.
But nonetheless, you get here okay? You happy to be here in the UK?
Very happy to be here in the UK. I mean, I've been fortunate enough to call some major fights in my life, whether it be WWE, UFC, boxing, but this one is right up there with the biggest of my career, and I can't wait to be ringside.
Usually Riyadh season takes place out in Saudi Arabia. We had the first Riyadh season show in America not so long ago. You've obviously had the privilege of being part of many of the Riyadh season shows, including the Fury versus Usyk fight, Fury Ngannou, Joshua Ngannou, the 5 versus 5 card. What's the experience has been like, not only working out in Riyadh, but also working closely with His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh?
Just everything just feels like it's been taken up a notch. You know what I mean? I mean, I've been a part of big events, but this is like, I mean, look where we're at right now. Who knows what it costs to rent this building, the Guildhall? I mean, William Wallace went on trial here. Braveheart, did you know that? So, I mean, the amount of money they're spending to get the amount of attention that they're getting is amazing, and I'm happy to be part of it.
As I said, the reason we are here is because of a huge showdown in the heavyweight division between Anthony Joshua, Daniel Dubois. Originally, when this fight was made, I thought we'd get like a clean road towards the fight, but we all saw what went off during the face-off. Now, there's a lot of talking about previous sparring sessions, but did you expect anything different, or did you expect us to have like a normal road to this fight without any controversy and without any sort of, fierce moments like we saw in the head-to-head between Joshua and Dubois?
Clear that up a little bit for me. What do you mean by smooth sound? Like they're going to push and shove and scream and yell at each other?
Did you expect it to be like a respectful build-up to the fight?
You know, Daniel Dubois is such a nice guy. I think the first time he ever talked trash was against Big Baby when he says, "Hey, every baby needs a daddy, and I'm your daddy." So he's just such a nice guy. That's not kind of in his DNA to be like that. So I think it's been a pretty respectful build-up. I mean, you want to have a little bit of rough waters just to get some attention and get some juice for the fight. But yeah, it's been fun.
The beauty of this fight, I feel, is how both fighters have improved massively under their new trainers. Daniel Dubois with Don Charles, Anthony Joshua with Ben Davison. Who would you give the upper hand going into this fight, given of what you've seen of the last few fights?
Well, I mean, AJ's got the pedigree. He's been in these big fights before. He's lost a lot of them, 3 of them, but he's been here before, so I think that gives him the edge first and foremost. I think he has more skills than Dubois, but I think it could come down to who can take the shot. And Dubois showed against Hrgović that he could take a lot of right hands. Obviously, he doesn't have the same power that AJ does, Hrgović, but man, he was walking right through that stuff. And if somehow he's impervious to the shots that AJ's throwing, he could beat Joshua, because I don't think Joshua could take the same amount of punishment that Dubois was taking in his last fight.
Anthony Joshua's been in this spotlight before. You know, he headlined at Wembley against Povetkin and against Vladimir Klitschko, which is one of the greatest heavyweight fights of all time. Do you think Daniel Dubois coming into a fight of this magnitude, do you think he's not fazed by going into his fight, and that the pressure would be highly on Anthony Joshua, given the fact that many people have him as the favourite going into his fight?
I think that it's a new. You would know this better than me because you live here in England. But I mean, Dubois fought in a huge stadium in Poland against Usyk. He's fought a couple of times in Saudi Arabia in front of big crowds. But this is a whole nother level. But sometimes ignorance is bliss. Sometimes you just go in there and just kind of block it out and just go for the gusto. So if Dubois can do that, who knows what could happen. But for AJ, it's old hat. He enjoys the ring walk, but I don't think he's going to be fazed in the least bit. He's in there to do business.
I never had the privilege of being out in Saudi Arabia like you guys for the Usyk versus Fury fight, and we're hoping we get that rematch December 21st. And everybody's saying that A win for Anthony Joshua here on Saturday night and a win for Tyson Fury December 21st means we could get a huge showdown at Wembley next year between those two British heavyweights. Is that, in your opinion, still the number one fight we need to see in this division right now, Fury versus Joshua?
Well, I mean, it depends on what you want. Do you want the two best guys? Because Usyk's one of the two best guys. That's the way it is. For England, yes, AJ versus Tyson Fury is the fight. And if both guys win, then yes, it's the fight. But if one loses and one wins or both lose, I mean, you probably still want to see the fight just because it'll be fun, but it won't have nearly the same luster.
You watched the fight close up. What could have Tyson Fury done differently in that fight, and what do you think he needs to do differently going into the rematch with Oleksandr Usyk, Todd?
Well, if you listen to Tyson Fury, he'll tell you, man, I was just on cruise control and I slipped a little bit. But you can't slip against somebody like Usyk. I mean, he's a master technician, and he's just got to avoid the big shot, which is strange because Usyk's so much smaller than him. But I mean, Fury gets dropped in almost every fight now. I think he's been down 7 or 8 times in his career. So he just has to avoid that one horrible moment. If he can stay on his toes, stick and move, bounce around the ring, he's got a really good shot to win.
We saw Canelo Alvarez put in a good performance against Edgar Berlanga a few weeks ago. Many people are talking about Benavidez. He's spoken about a rematch with Bivol, but people want to see that fight with him and Terence Crawford now. Crawford moved up to 154 pounds, beat Madrimov, became the world champion at that weight. Is that a fight you want to see made next between Crawford and Canelo, or do you think that both fighters should look at other avenues and maybe perhaps forget about that fight for the time being?
Well, first of all, at least in America, no matter who Canelo fights, it's a big deal. Sort of like AJ over here a little bit. So he's talking about maybe fighting Bivol again. Obviously, I think the main fight that would get the most attention worldwide would be Benavidez, but for some reason, Canelo just does not want to fight him. As for Terence Crawford, I wouldn't say it doesn't interest me, but if Crawford had blasted Madrimov out of there, then yes. But he struggled with Madrimov. I thought it could have been a draw easily, or maybe even Madrimov could have won. So now you're asking him to go up, not just another division, but 2 divisions to face arguably the pound-for-pound best fighter in the world. It's just going to be way too much for him, I think. And it's not a fight that really interests me that much. Of course, I'd watch it and I'd love to call it, but I just don't think it's going to be that competitive.
Is it for Crawford the fact of creating history, the fact that the big money fight is against Canelo and that would be his biggest payday? What do you think is the main attraction with that fight for him right now against Canelo?
Well, Crawford has a chip on his shoulder. He always has. I mean, no one's ever beaten him. And really, I mean, no one's really come super close other than Madrimov. So Crawford thinks he's the best in the world, and he wants to prove it. And I think it's a no-lose situation for him. You know, he goes up 2 weight classes, loses to Canelo in a competitive fight. He doesn't lose anything off his name. Plus, he makes who knows how many tens of millions of dollars. So for Crawford, money, legacy, and pride. I think those are the 3 reasons he wants that fight.
Todd, one final question before I let you go. Give us a prediction for Saturday night's main event between Anthony Joshua and Daniel Dubois.
You know, I'm one of those guys that like when someone asks me if I'm watching Premier League, who do you want to win? I just want a good game. You know, I'm almost neutral in the fact that I want them both to have great performances. If they both fight at their very best, AJ wins because he's a little bit better. But we've seen AJ sometimes doesn't deliver the goods, and if that's the case, I think AJ can stop. I think AJ can stop it. I mean, I think Dubois can stop AJ.
Todd, an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for your time. We'll let you carry on, and hopefully we get to speak to you on Fight Night after the main event.
It was a pleasure. Thanks.
Todd Grisham, thank you for talking to Lights Out.
Okay.
Much appreciated.